The final words my grandmother spoke to me were, "Sometimes the greatest deceptions are cloaked in the most beautiful disguises, my dear." I didn't grasp her meaning back then, but now it's crystal clear. My name is Natalie, and just last week, I witnessed my entire family snatch my inheritance right out from under me. I stood in Gran's Victorian home, the one she'd vowed would be mine since I was 12, gripping the envelope she'd left for me. The lawyer had just finished reading her will, and my mother's perfectly polished fingers were already reaching for the keys. "Sweetheart, you must understand," Mom said, her voice oozing with crocodile tears. "This house needs so many fixes. We're just shielding you from the hassle." "Shielding me?" I glared at her, then at my father, who avoided my gaze. "By selling it behind my back?" I shot back. My brother Sullivan lounged against the doorway, arms folded. "Come on, Nat, you couldn't handle the property taxes anyway." The faint aroma of Gran's lavender sachets still hung in the air. Just 3 weeks earlier, we'd sat in her sunroom, sipping tea as she shared tales of her younger days. Now here they were, carving up her legacy like scavengers. "You can't do this," I said, my voice trembling. "Gran left it to me. It's in her will." "Actually," my sister Riley piped up, "Mom and Dad have power of attorney. The sale's already done." My face went cold. "What sale?" "We found a wonderful buyer," Mom said, smoothing her expensive blouse. "He's paying well above market value. The papers are signed." My grip tightened on Gran's envelope. I hadn't opened it yet. It had arrived by courier that morning with instructions to wait until after the will was read. "Leave," I whispered. "Don't be so theatrical, Natalie," Dad finally spoke. "We're family." "Family!" I let out a bitter laugh. "Family doesn't do this. Get out of my grandmother's house now." They shuffled out, Mom pausing at the door. "We're meeting the buyer tomorrow to hand over the keys. You should come, make peace with it." Once alone, I sank into Gran's favorite armchair and opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a single page and a small key. "My dearest Natalie," it read. "If you're reading this, they've done exactly what I dreaded. But don't fret. I've left you something they don't know about, something to help you fight back. Check behind the loose brick in the garden wall, the one with the heart etched into it." I stood, my pulse racing. Gran always said the best vengeance was served with patience and cunning. It seemed she'd given me the perfect plan. The law office of Schuyler Martinez smelled of leather and espresso. I placed Gran's papers on her desk. The documents I'd found behind that garden brick had kept me awake all night. "Well," Schuyler said, adjusting her glasses, "your grandmother was meticulous. Can they really sell the house without my approval?" I asked. She grinned, a sharp, confident smile. "Here's the intriguing part. 6 months ago, your grandmother added a clause to her will. The house can't be sold without your explicit written consent, no matter any power of attorney." "But Mom said the sale's already finalized," I said. Schuyler leaned forward. "Which means someone forged your signature." My hands clenched the armrests. "What?" She pulled out a document. "This is supposedly your signature on the sale agreement." "But the date!" She tapped the paper. "You were in Seattle that day, right?" "Yes, for work." "I have flight receipts." "Keep those safe," she said. "We'll need them." Schuyler began typing. "The buyer, Edward Jackson, is coming in today. He needs to know his purchase isn't valid. You think we can stop this?" "Stop it, Natalie." Schuyler smirked. "We can undo it, and whoever forged your signature could face serious repercussions." My phone buzzed. A text from Riley. "Mom's furious you went to a lawyer. Says you're betraying the family." I showed Schuyler the message. She shook her head. Funny how they define betrayal. A knock interrupted us. Edward Jackson entered, looking more anxious than a legitimate buyer should. "Mr. Jackson," Schuyler said, gesturing to a chair, "please sit. I assume this is about the house." "Your mother assured me everything was in order," he said, glancing at me. "My mother lied," I said bluntly. "I never signed those papers." His face paled. "What?" Schuyler slid the documents across her desk. "The sale requires Miss Natalie's consent. The signature, it's forged. She was out of state that day." Edward ran a hand through his hair. "They told me you'd agreed, just couldn't be there for the signing." "They lied," I said. "That house means the world to me." "My grandmother—" "I know," he cut in. Your mother said you were stubborn about letting go, too emotional. Something in his tone made me pause. What else did they tell you? He hesitated, then reached for his briefcase. I think you should see these emails. Your family's been planning this for months. They were adamant about rushing the sale. As he spread the printed emails on Skylar's desk, Gran's words echoed in my mind. The greatest deceptions are cloaked in the most beautiful disguises. She'd known. She'd known all along what they'd try to do. The emails turned my stomach. Mom had been pitching the house to buyers for months, while Gran was still alive. Your mother mentioned there might be resistance, Edward said, pointing to one email. Said you were too attached to see the financial upside. I read the email's date, sent 2 days after Gran's funeral. Skylar sorted through the papers. Mr. Jackson, would you be willing to provide a formal statement about these communications? Yes, he nodded. I should have questioned more when they pushed to rush everything. Something felt wrong. My phone buzzed again, Sullivan calling. I ignored it. There's more, Edward said quietly. Your mother mentioned valuable items in the house, things your grandmother had hidden. I remembered the key from Gran's letter. Hidden where? She wouldn't say, he replied. Just that they needed to secure the house quickly before you had a chance to. He stopped. Before I had a chance to what? Find whatever your grandmother left for you. Skylar gathered the emails into a folder. This is strong evidence of premeditation. Natalie. We should. The office door burst open. Mom stood there, impeccably dressed as always, with Riley lingering behind her. Natalie, what do you think you're doing? Her voice was velvet over steel. Funny, I said, holding up the forged document. I was about to ask you the same thing. Care to explain this? She barely glanced at it. Edward, we had an agreement. An agreement built on deceit, he replied, standing. I'm withdrawing my offer. Mom's composure faltered. You can't do that. We've already allocated the funds. Allocated? I stood to. You mean spent money you didn't even have? Riley stepped forward. Nat, please. Mom and Dad need this. The business. What about the business? I demanded. Mom shot Riley a sharp look. That's enough, Natalie. You're making a grave mistake. That house is nothing but a burden. Then why are you so desperate to sell it? I held up Gran's letter. What exactly are you afraid I'll find? Her eyes locked on the envelope, and for the first time, I saw genuine fear. Whatever you think you know, she said carefully. You don't have the full story. Then tell me, I shot back. What's hidden in that house that's worth forging my signature for? Silence stretched. Finally, Mom turned to leave but paused at the door. Some secrets, she said softly, are better left buried with the dead. As she left, Skylar picked up her phone. I'm calling in a favor. We need to get into that house tonight before they try anything else. Sullivan cornered me in the parking lot as I left Skylar's office. You're making a huge mistake, he said, blocking my path to my car. Mom and Dad poured everything into this deal. Everything they had, or everything they stole. I snapped. He grabbed my arm. Listen, the family business is drowning. Dad made some bad calls. I pulled free. So that justifies stealing my inheritance. Your inheritance. He laughed bitterly. You were always her favorite. Every Sunday dinner, every holiday, it was always about precious Natalie. That's not true. No. Then why did she leave you the house? Why did she spend hours whispering secrets to you in that stupid sunroom while the rest of us were left out? A car door slammed nearby. Riley approached, her heels clicking on the pavement. They're meeting tonight, she said, avoiding my eyes. At the Riverside Hotel about the house. Sullivan spun around. Riley, shut up. No, she said, crossing her arms. I'm done lying. Mom and Dad are planning something big, Nat. Why are you telling me this? I asked. She hesitated. Because I found documents in Mom's office about Gran's estate that don't match the will. Sullivan stepped toward her. You had no right to go through those papers. And you had no right to forge our sister's signature, Riley fired back. I stared at my brother. You forged my signature. He looked ashamed. Mom said it was the only way. We needed the money fast before. Before what? Before the audit. Riley cut in. The business is being investigated for fraud. They needed clean money to cover their tracks. My phone buzzed. Skylar texting got the keys. Meet at the house in 30 minutes. I have to go, I said, pushing past Sullivan. Nat, wait, Riley called. The meeting tonight, it's at 8, room 412. They don't know I know, but I heard Mom on the phone. Whatever they're planning, it's happening soon. Sullivan grabbed her arm. You're going to regret this. No, she pulled away. I'm done being part of this mess. Gran wouldn't have wanted this. I looked at my siblings, Sullivan angry, Riley finally showing her true self. Thanks for telling me, Riley. But why now? She smiled sadly. Because Gran once told me doing the right thing late is better than never doing it at all. As I drove away, I texted Skylar, change of plans. We need to crash a meeting tonight. Bring your phone to record everything. The pieces were falling into place. Whatever secrets that house held, I had a feeling we'd uncover them all tonight. In room 412 of the Riverside Hotel, Skylar and I pressed our ears against the connecting door to 414. Mom's voice came through clearly, thanks to the hotel's thin walls. The audit team arrives Monday, she was saying. If we don't transfer that money by then, we know, Kennedy, Dad interrupted. But Natalie's lawyer is causing issues. Then handle it, Griffin, Mom snapped. We didn't spend 30 years building this business to watch it fall apart because your mother played favorites from beyond the grave. I started recording on my phone. What about the paintings? A new voice, Edwards asked. You promised valuable artworks hidden in the house. There are, Mom said sharply. Martha, that scheming mother-in-law of mine, had a collection. Insurance documents value them at over $2 million. My hand trembled. Gran's art collection. She'd always told me they were just prints. And you're sure they're in the house? Edward pressed. In the walls, Dad said. Behind the wooden panels in the sunroom. That's why we need to move fast. Skylar scribbled on her notepad, insurance fraud. The audit team will find everything, Mom continued. The fake invoices, the offshore accounts. Martha knew. That's why she changed her will, why she left everything to Natalie. She was protecting the art, Dad sighed, making sure we couldn't get to it. Well, she failed. Mom's voice was cold. Once we get back in that house. A loud crack interrupted her. Riley had entered their room. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Riley, what are you doing here? Mom demanded. I followed you. I heard everything. Honey, this doesn't concern you, Mom said. Doesn't concern me? Riley's voice broke. You're stealing from Gran's estate, from Natalie. We're protecting our family's legacy, Mom insisted. By committing fraud, Riley shouted. By forging signatures and hiding artwork. Your father and I had no choice, Mom said. The business was failing. Because you were embezzling money. Riley cried. Gran figured it out, didn't she? That's why she changed her will. Silence fell. Then Dad spoke quietly. How long have you known? Long enough, Riley said. I found the real accounts, the ones you hide from the auditors. Gran didn't leave clues just for Natalie. She left them for all of us to see who'd do the right thing. Skylar touched my arm, nodding toward the door. We had enough recorded, but I couldn't move, riveted by my sister's words. I'm calling the police, Riley said firmly. Like hell you are, Mom snarled. Something crashed. Riley screamed, and suddenly doing the right thing became far more urgent than family secrets. I burst through the connecting door, just as Mom smashed Riley's phone against the wall. Get your hands off her! I shouted. Everyone froze. Dad stood by the window, pale and trembling. Edward backed toward the door. Mom still gripped Riley's arm tightly. Well, Mom said, eerily calm, the prodigal daughter joins us. Skylar stepped in behind me, her phone clearly recording. I suggest you let her go, Kennedy, unless you want assault charges added to the fraud. Mom released Riley, who scrambled to my side. You recorded everything, didn't you? I said. Every word. The fraud, the embezzlement, the art theft, all of it. You don't understand, Dad pleaded. The business was failing. So you stole from your own mother. I cut him off. Forged documents and hid evidence. Edward cleared his throat. I think it's time I made a full statement about my involvement. Mom whirled on him. You wouldn't dare. Actually, he pulled out his phone. I've been recording too, ever since you first approached me about rushing the sale. Something fell off, and now I know why. You're all making a terrible mistake, Mom said, but her perfect facade was crumbling. Riley touched my arm. The paintings, Nat, they're not just valuable. They're stolen. That's what Gran discovered. Dad sank into a chair. Martha confronted me 6 months ago. Said she had proof. That's when she changed her will. I realized, Mom said bitterly, when she added that clause about your consent. She knew we'd try to sell the house. Skylar was already on her phone. Yes, detective, room 412 at the Riverside. We have multiple confessions recorded. Mom lunged for her, but I stepped between them. It's over, Mom. Gran gave me that house for a reason, to protect her legacy from people like you. People like me, she laughed hysterically. I built this family while she judged us from her moral high ground. No, Riley said quietly, you destroyed this family. Gran was trying to save us. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Dad buried his face in his hands. Edward blocked the door. The paintings, I said. Are they still in the house? Mom's silence was answer enough. I turned to Skylar. We need to get there first. She nodded. I'll call for a warrant. As the sirens grew closer, I watched my parents' empire collapse, built on lies undone by truth. Gran would have been proud. The police found the paintings exactly where Dad said they'd be, hidden behind the wooden panels in Gran's sunroom. 13 masterpieces, each worth a fortune, each linked to a different theft over the past decade. Your father's business was just a front, Detective Morris explained as we watched the art being carefully removed. High-end furniture imports provided the perfect cover for smuggling stolen artwork. Sullivan showed up as they loaded the last painting. What have you done, Nat? Me. I turned to face him. I'm not the one who turned Gran's house into a vault for stolen art. They're going to prison, he said, voice breaking. Our parents are going to prison. Riley stepped forward. They made their choice, Sully. Just like you did when you forged Nat's signature. The detective's ears perked up. Is that an admission of forgery? Sullivan's face crumpled. Mom promised no one would get hurt. But people did get hurt, I said softly. Gran spent her last months knowing her own son was a criminal. Her art collection was replaced with fakes. The business she helped build was a lie. Ms. Martinez, an evidence technician, called out. We found something else. Skylar joined us as they pulled a metal box from behind the last panel. My heart leaped. It was the perfect size for the key Gran had left me. That's private property, Sullivan protested. Actually, Skylar smiled. According to the will, everything in this house belongs to Natalie. The key fit perfectly. Inside was a leather-bound journal and a USB drive. Your grandmother contacted me 6 months ago, Skylar explained. She'd been gathering evidence, documenting everything. She knew they'd try to sell the house once she was gone. Why didn't she go to the police? Riley asked. Because she wanted to give them a chance to come clean, I realized, remembering Gran's words about love and wisdom. She was protecting us until the end. Detective Morris reviewed the journal's contents. This is enough to put them away for a long time. Art theft, money laundering, fraud. Sullivan slumped against the wall. I didn't know about any of this, I swear. No, Riley said. You just went along with it, like we all did until now. I opened Gran's journal to the last entry. Her familiar handwriting brought tears to my eyes. My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, you've done what I couldn't. Expose the truth while safeguarding what truly matters. Our family's real legacy, not the money or the art, but the courage to stand for what's right. I'm so proud of you, my girl. As the police finished their work, Riley, Sullivan, and I stood in the sunroom, watching the sunset through Gran's stained glass windows. Our family would never be the same, but maybe that was exactly what we needed. The morning light poured through Gran's freshly cleaned windows as I sipped tea from her favorite cup. Riley sat across from me in the sunroom while Sullivan helped Edward carry in the last of the restored artwork. The insurance company confirmed it, Skylar said, reviewing documents at Gran's antique desk. Once they verify the painting's authenticity, the recovery reward will be substantial. I don't care about the money, I said. I just want the art back where it belongs. Edward hung the final piece, a small impressionist garden scene, in its original spot. Your grandmother had exquisite taste. These aren't just valuable, they're stunning. She always said art should be lived with, not locked away. Riley smiled, running her hand along the frame. Sullivan cleared his throat. Listen, Nat, about everything. I know. I cut him off. You're sorry, but sorry doesn't fix this. No, he agreed. But maybe this will help. He pulled out a stack of papers. I'm testifying against Dad's business partners. All of them. Riley gasped. Sully, those people are dangerous. So is living with guilt, he said, setting the papers down. Gran taught us better than this. The doorbell rang. Edward answered and returned with Detective Morris. Good news, she announced. Your parents took the plea deal. They'll serve time, but their cooperation means we can take down the entire smuggling network. And the business? Riley asked. Being dissolved, the detective said. But the legitimate assets will be returned to the estate. Your grandmother's legacy is safe now. I walked to the garden wall, touching the brick where I'd found Gran's letter. She knew this would happen, all of it. She knew we'd make the right choice eventually. Riley joined me, even if it took some of us longer than others. Sullivan picked up Gran's teacup, studying its delicate pattern. Remember how she used to say, every broken thing has a story, and every story has a lesson? I nodded. Edward and Schuyler began gathering their things. The house is officially yours now, Schuyler said. No more legal hurdles. What will you do with it? Edward asked. I looked around, at the art on the walls, the sun catching the stained glass, the garden beyond, at my siblings, broken but healing. Exactly what Gran wanted, I said. Make it a home again, a real one this time. Riley squeezed my hand. Sullivan nodded, understanding. Later, as the evening light bathed the sunroom in amber, I found one last note tucked inside Gran's journal. Remember, darling, revenge is sweet, but redemption is sweeter. Some families break to grow stronger. Love always, Gran. I closed the journal, smiling. She was right, as always. The house wasn't just my inheritance. It was my chance to rebuild something better from the ruins of what we'd lost. And this time, we'd do it right.